Good afternoon and welcome to CINDRIGO Holdings Limited investor presentation. Throughout the recorded meeting, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Just simply type in your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Lars Gårdstrand, CEO. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you, and heartily welcome everybody to a brief presentation of CINDRIGO and who we are, where we're going, and our plans going forward. CINDRIGO is an active clean energy developer, owner, and operator, primarily focusing into the base load energy sector. Our main focus is Europe, at least to start with, and I think we have a solid platform both with our various portfolio companies and I would also say a very solid board and operating management team. But let me start briefly on the market and the sector. Uh, Everybody talks a lot, of course, about energy, and so do we. Energy, we all know there is a huge need in the energy development going forward with everything being electrified and so on. More important into that is that you have two different type of energies. You have the base load, the base need capacity for the market, and then you have some other peak loads as well. But base load is a sector that we are focusing on, both in electricity and in heat as we develop. We also, of course, see a huge growth in the replacement of fossil and other energy parts of it. So just some rough numbers there on the screen, but we see that the replacement is 3 times as large and the expansion that we know is great. Our target is to build 1 gigawatt or 1,000 megawatt operation within the renewable energy base load sector. Where we stand today, we have 2 geographical assets, one in Finland, where we have a 110 megawatt waste to energy plant, ready built, constructed, ready to go into operation. When we talk waste to energy, this is based on forestry waste that we incinerate and then deliver heat and power out of this. Rico will get back a little bit more into detail about the Finnish operation. The other part, which is an earlier stage development, is in Germany, where we have 3 large license areas for geothermal south of Frankfurt in the Upper Rhine Valley, some 300 megawatt of also combined heat, power, and also lithium that we target in this market. So the company today have, I would say, very strong assets, both close to operation, and we expect them to be up and running in Finland around year end. In Germany, in a development phase that we would see for some 5-8 years, the assets we have that could grow and expand. But the other key asset, I would say, is the management team and the board. We have an extremely strong, I must say, both board and management team with a strong track record, and also the board with a broad expertise from both the political side, the large energy side, new technology side, as well as from a listed and commercial development going forward. So when we look at these companies then and the expansion, let's start a bit and then ask Riku to present a bit on Finland. And before that, I would just add one important point is that we are just now listed on London Stock Exchange on the main board and have the platform to continue with the expansion, both for growth and for the green sector. We've been approved for the green economy mark, which is a small number of the all listed companies in London that qualifies for this. So even in the waste to energy sector, we are green given the waste we incinerate. So then over to you, Rico, and tell us a little bit on who you are and what we are doing in Finland.
Yes, hello from my side too. So I founded my first company as a 23-year-old university student, and since then I've been working on several companies, mainly on business management and sales operations. And I think the energy sector is right now in a very interesting stage, and there's a lot going on this energy sector, and that's why I think it's very interesting to be there. And about the Kaipola plant, we're very ready to start. We have a very strong team in Finland, and I'm very confident that we as a team are very able to operate the plant as good as possible in the future. And we have been doing repair work and maintenance work for a long time now, and it's very interesting power plant. It's just about 7 floors tall, and it itself already means that it's very expensive to start this kind of power plant. But as I said, we are very ready, and it's all up to our customer when they are ready. They have told us that they will need heat by the end of this year, and so we are ready to proceed with that one. At first, we will start to operate around 40% of the total capacity of that power plant, but we will scale up next year together with all our customers. Thanks.
That's
Hi.
over to Ishtak now.
My name is Ishtiaq Ahmed. I am the head of Central Europe for CINDRIGO for business development and operational management. My background is from oil and gas industry. I worked 25 years in different multinational oil and gas companies. I was involved in the large field developments from seismic, drilling, processing plants, facility construction, design, and operations. In 2022, I joined CINDRIGO with the aim to develop the geothermal portfolio in Central Europe for CINDRIGO. We evaluated different projects in Europe, in different countries, different basins, based on my oil and gas background and knowledge. So we had evaluation in Pannonian Basin, in Slovakia, in Ukraine, and Italy, Germany, and France regions. And then finally, we decided that we have to go for the project in Germany. The reason was the technical conditions are more suitable, the subsurface conditions are suitable, plus there is a strong financial government support for geothermal energy development. So this was the reason we decided to develop our portfolio in Germany. We carefully looked different areas in Germany. Germany has 3 major geothermal basins. We call them Bavarian basins, the North German basins, and the one which we selected is the Rhine basins. Now, the reason to go for the Rhine basin is higher temperature. So we have option to go for heat. We have option to go for the power generation and also lithium concentration. So these incentives, which are naturally available in this region, compel us to select projects. So we selected 3 projects in the area, the name Aish, Worms, and Weinheim. The total area is 125 square kilometer, where we intend to develop our projects. This region has a long history of oil and gas projects developments and geothermal developments. In the past, there are over 400 wells, oil and gas wells drilled in the region. So we have plenty of data, subsurface information available. Then recently we have 24 deep geothermal drilling in the regions and some very good substantial discoveries, which has further proven that we are in the right place. So for example, recently there was 2 lithium projects being commissioned with high lithium concentration from 150 to 200 mg per liter, which is significantly higher and which is higher in the Europe. The second project is the temperature-based, very high temperatures, so at 4,000 meter. The project, they have encountered 200-degree temperature, which means so every 1 kilometer, the temperature gradient is 50. So this was the reason we selected these projects in these areas. And now we are looking for the developments. We have very strong development plan, which is a phase-wise plan. Definitely, we are in the advanced stage of exploration studies, the subsurface studies. Now we are entering next year into the drilling phase. We plan to drill 2 wells, 1 production, 1 injection, which is requirement. We call them duplet. So we plan to develop first duplet on one of the projects, and then the second and the third project. In the future, we are planning to have at least 5 duplet. Initially, we aim for 90 megawatt heat, but gradually we will develop to the power generation and also the lithium extraction. Yeah.
And then we hand over to you, Snorri, to tell us a bit on the on-surface work. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hello there. I'm Snorri Einarsson. I'm a Chief Technical Officer and focusing on the surface operation and the plant design. I'm coming from Iceland, and I have experienced geothermal since my whole lifetime. Basically, I was born with hot water on the tap at my home, so I have a lifetime of experience. But basically, yeah, I started off as a mechanical and energy engineer. So my professional life, I started in 2007, and the whole time basically in geothermal. So I have 18 years now. I also have an executive MBA from Vienna University and the Carlson School of Management. So I started my career in Manvit, working on one of the largest power plant in Iceland, or one of the largest in Europe, or one of the largest globally, I would say, like 300 megawatt electricity. Worked on that project for 5 years, mainly on design and some surveillance of contractors. And in 2012, I started with a company that was developing a modular wellhead power plant. They only had the pilot plant up and running, but I participated in building and managed many of the surface equipment in those plants. So we totally built like 15 modular power plants ranging from 5 to 7 megawatts. And in the picture here, we can see partly 3 plants, approximately 15 megawatts total in one well pad. So this experience is something we want to build on. So we were the full EPC contractor from the well to the grid, and we were focusing on modular design and rapid deployment. Small power plants, like geothermal, has one of the smallest footprint in the industry of renewable energy or the energy. In fact, for example, it's approximately just 10% of the footprint of similar solar plants. Yeah, so I came to CINDRIGO 2 years ago, looking into the development and developing how we move forward with the strategy. I think it's a little bit on the next slide, if you have that up.
Yeah, you're on that slide now.
Thank you so much. So we, like Estienne was saying, we drilled the first set of wells in first area. So we will focus on like stage development, similar like we have experienced from otherwise. So basically the brine comes from the production well, and we extract the heat through heat exchanger, which we, like if you simplify it, we call the heat plant. On the heat, we can, we send it to the district heating system, selling it to both municipal and and to the industry close by for process heat. Electricity, so can be generated as well, and then there's the lithium potential that Estienne was mentioning earlier. Because of the high concentration in the area, it seems to be very viable to extract lithium during the process. So from the first pair of wells, in the first stage, we start with like 30 megawatts of heat, adding 5 megawatts electricity and the lithium extraction system, and then we roll it out consecutively. So to reach 90 to 100 megawatts to begin with on each site, so in total 300 megawatts. So a key advantage of the geothermal is also that it provides like this constant base load output, meaning like night and day. It's a constant production. So it's really important for the operating a grid. It needs to be constant. It's not like the solar, which is only when the sun shines. So the sun shines always for us. So as I said before, we are targeting the 300 megawatts in this stage development. And from my experience as in the EPC, we want to have a very experienced EPC partner that is used to dealing with transferring energy completely from the well and to the grid and are operating themselves. So we have a good partner and EPC specialist that we will utilize for the heat and power generation. And then we have separate potentials for the lithium extraction based on the concentration that comes from the brine. So thank you.
Thank you. And then maybe Dag, you could also give us a little bit background on how this ties into the financing of primarily, I would say, the geothermal, but also on the corporate level.
Yes, thank you, Lars. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be presenting our plans going forward and also after the listing. I think what is very important here before we go further is that we have a right time issue for the company to entering the baseload energy sector in Europe, and we are on the right place to the right time. That's very important. I'm the CFO and the finance director for the company. I'm coming from leading senior positions in companies like Vattenfall, Vestas, Nordea, and so forth. And I also have a very long experience and history in leading energy companies and industry companies, and also building power plants of all kinds, from water and hydro to nuclear, and also combined heat and power. And in addition, I've also been financing both infrastructure and energy projects all over Europe, both from the banking and finance side, and also from from the other side, from the industry side of the table. In CINDRIGO, I'm the finance director. I'm, of course, responsible for the corporate unit, but also responsible overall for the funding strategy and the capital planning and capital structure of the company. That's of instrumental importance. And in the end, everything is about the investment program for CINDRIGO's growth projects. And I think when we move over to the next page, Germany has a unique positions as a growth and as expansion point for CINDRIGO. You know that geothermal projects has a very, very strong merits for financing. And if you look into Germany, there is very, very favorable market conditions for starting and running and developing these projects in Germany. And I think also if you look into it, it's absolutely one of, I think, the strongest support scheme available in whole Europe for these kind of projects. As you can see there, we both had the KfW and Remunis that is going for insurance up to 90% of drilling costs if they are empty or very low energy. We also have the federal support scheme, BEW, regarding the 50% subsidy for pre-drilling. And we also have government underwriting and CapEx subsidize in this respect. And on the other side, when after commercial operating has started, we also have the long-term tariff structure that is very, very strong and fundamental for Germany, both regarding the power revenue support with a 20-year power offtake agreement between 250 euro for megawatt hour. And we also have regarding the heat revenue support up to 40 to 60 euro for a megawatt hour. And also, as mentioned before, is the lithium production that is an add-on, and we will take very, very good care of, I think. So if you summarize the listing on the the London Stock Exchange, and also the strength of the projects that we have been presenting to you today, in addition to the unique support scheme that is available in Germany for projects, it's very clear that this strengthens the capabilities for raising both investment capital and also institution capital, and building up this in a structure in our investment program for financing the projects when we know moving forward. I think I will stop here and leave the word back to you, Lars, so you can close the session in a prudent way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As I said, we stand today in a very strong position, I would say, for our continued growth. And just carry back to a picture here of when we listed last week, then it was honestly quite impressive to come into the foyer of London Stock Exchange and being met with this picture with CINDRIGO all over, and a powerful start. But this was, of course, a good milestone, but important is the work starting now and the real work going forward. And I think, like, just try to summarize it, who we are. We are an energy, not only developer, owner, operator, and going into operation. We also know why we're focusing. There is a huge need in the market in general, and in clean energy in particular, and then also base load. So the market is there. We have the position. We know that the assets we have today, some 400 megawatt, 100 in waste to energy and 300 in geothermal, gives us a solid platform to grow from in this industry. And also, as I said, the operating team, as I hope you could sense a bit, both on with Rico in his background and what we're doing in Finland, and where we are close to operation, but also Istyak and Snorri that has built a lot in the geothermal sector, in the drilling, understand the business, understand how to grow. Hopefully supported with us, others with some commercial background, and hopefully able to package it and build. And I would say, as I said in the beginning, a very strong board with a good, broad experience and background in both the industry and in general going forward. We have, as I said, 400 megawatt today. Our target is that in a few years, add another 500 megawatt under contract that we could continue and grow. But as Snorre mentioned, that one of those duplets or two wells in a unit would cover some 30 megawatts. We have 10 such units to expand with on our current license areas, and hopefully we will find other both renewable energy in broad and of course geothermal in particular. But short term, our focus is of course to get Finland going and to get these businesses in Germany that we already have to grow into the future. So if you summarize this, I would say CINDRIGO, we have the platform, we have the people, we have the experience of doing it. We will short term operate Finland, so we would see the benefits in the short term on the activities, both of the extension now in Germany, get Finland started, get a good cash flow out of Finland in the short term, and in the mid-term, then go into the drilling, the development in Germany, case after case after case. And in addition to our current portfolio, we are definitely looking at other opportunities, both in geothermal and in renewable in broad. So I would say CINDRIGO today, we will meet the performance development short term, hopefully well recognized in the market as well from a share price development and what we are doing in the short term. In the mid-term, 1 to 3 years, we will see the development and the expansion of Germany and its various milestones. And long term, both our own development in this current 400 megawatt and possibly more, and hopefully some other broadening parts of the renewable energy sector. So I think we stand strong, and I think we have the assets needed. We have the key components ready to really move from all the preparatory work we have had for a long time right now and with full speed going forward. With that, I would just leave it open to questions, and I think you were introduced how to submit questions in general, and we try to answer on these as well.
Absolutely, Lars. Look, thank you very much to you and the team. As Lars said, ladies and gentlemen, do please continue to submit your questions just using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of the screen. Just while the team take a few moments to review those questions submitted today, I'd like to remind you the recording of the presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. As you can see, we've received a number of questions throughout today's presentation. Thank you to all the investors for submitting those. Charlotte, if I may just hand over to you to read out the questions where appropriate to do so, direct them to the team, and I'll pick up from you at the end.
Absolutely, thank you. So the first question is looking at the lithium production on the geothermal side of things. Is this type of production very costly, and is it also realistic, or is it more of a theoretical kind of production potential that we can look forward to?
I will leave it for you, Snorri, to talk about primarily. We know that we are in a lithium-rich area, and you could elaborate a bit on that. And I would say not that costly. It's carved out of the brine, but maybe a few words on that, Ishak.
So if we look at the market now, lithium production cost is around 2,000 to 3,000 euro per ton, and the market now is operating at, I mean, the income or the profit is around 8,000 to 10,000. So I think it's a quite financially viable investment. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. So on to the next question. It's looking at production in Finland. It's been delayed timings have been pushed back, as from what's been previously announced. Should production affect? Can we provide a bit more information on the reason for those delays, and how it's kind of being communicated to the market?
No, it's correct that it has taken longer time than we originally anticipated. There were issues, and not getting into all the history, but with our operation started for Ukraine and the war in Ukraine, of course, we had to halt and then restructuring and then to build up, and not to blame anything on COVID and other things, but definitely it slowed down. I think what's important, we are through that platform or that work right now. We have the listing as a good platform going forward. We have the assets, we have the people. So I'm confident that we will see a good development in the near term. But yes, it took longer time than we had both planned and hoped for.
And so, are you confident in production taking place later this year with a commercial level?
Yeah, we have a clear dialogue with the taker, the buyer, the off-taker of the energy that we are producing in Finland, and we have been informed that they are planning to start their operation before year end. We are ready, and as Rico pointed out, we have done all the homework, we have done all the repair work. Our plant is ready to start, but we need to have a taker of the heat of a minimum capacity. And as soon as they are ready, we are ready to start. And we, based on their information, then confident that we should be able to start before the year end. More important, I would say, is that as soon as we start, if that's in a few weeks' time or it's a month's time, whatever, the ongoing steady cash flow out of that business is then running for some close to 40 megawatt the first running 12 months, growing with our customer and with other customers there as well. So yes, we are ready, and all information we have as of today is that that customer should be ready before year end.
Lovely. So you spoke a bit about future development plans and potentially expanding and new projects. Can you provide us with a bit more information on that? Are there any projects specifically that you have kind of got your eye on, or areas that you are, really interested in and will be looking to target?
No, that's correct. We definitely have our eyes on many things, but we are definitely also focused on our current projects because they are so solid, so strong in itself. We don't want to run too wide and spread us too thin at this point. We definitely, short term, the focus is to get Finland up and running, to get the next phases of Germany, the extensions that we expect to come during this year, and then get into the operating construction part of Germany. But yes, we are definitely keeping our eyes open, but also realistic, that don't run too wild and crazy out of this. We have enough growth potential, I said, on our current licenses for 4 or 5 years, but we would be happy to add to that as long as we have the capacity to expanding and know that we have the funding coming both from Finland as well as from the funding on the projects that we're looking at.
Brilliant. So actually the next question was, how does the CINDRIGO board plan for the next 5 years for the future? But I think actually you've just quite succinctly covered that with that answer. So we'll move on to the next question, which is, so how will this is potentially for you, Dag, how will the agreed lockup with shareholders now go on? What are the timings and consequences and the effects of that?
I think maybe we should let Lars take these questions. He's head of it and is the right person to answer it, actually.
Well, I think the lockup is primarily to have an orderly trade. Now, when we, as someone asked, and have been a bit delayed and taken a little bit longer time, make sure that we can build and we deliver clear performance improvement so that we would be able to build the buy side. Because the way we listed, we did a large, broad, huge capital raise into it. We raised some 2 million, which is money as well, important, but more of a validating thing. We just not wanted to secure that we are building this step by step, and then for a 3-month period, a lockup to get the market to know about us, be able to come out and communicate it so that we could build a balance between the buy and the sell side, and hopefully with a good liquidity and a growing price as well.
And kind of following on from that, old shareholders were given warrants and the ability to purchase new shares at 20p, for locking in existing shares for up to 3 months. So given the listing price of 12p, the question is it likely that the share price of CINDRIGO will be much lower than 20p by the end of 3 months or more, which could result in a practical penalising of existing locked up shareholders. Do you have any plans to mitigate this issue, or potential situation like this occurring?
Or cut off, I didn't really hear. Could you repeat the question?
Yes, sorry. So old shareholders were given warrants and the ability to purchase shares at 20p. Given the listing prices at 12p, there's obviously a difference there in the price. How are you going to kind of manage any potential situation arising of that share difference?
Okay, fine, then I understood you. No, it's correct, and I think that warrant to the locked-in investors is, we would hope, a very good benefit as we develop. The only thing we can do is, of course, perform and deliver on what we have said that the company shall do, get the company up and running, getting cash flows out of Finland, getting extensions into Germany, continuing this, and hopefully we would see that that's recognized in the market and the value out of it, and with that plan also be a good upside potential for those shareholders investing. So the only thing we can do is really perform and get this to develop, and of course communicate and be out and tell about it.
And with that in mind, for the next what are the next big milestones or catalysts that shareholders can look forward to in the next 6 months?
I would say the near term would be, I would say, the German extensions that we have one, as we already announced, in conjunction with the listing, and you have 2 more projects that are should be now in November, hopefully, that they would be extended. That's the first, let's say, short-term material. The other would, of course, be to get firm date from our customer in Finland, not only end of the year, but how do they spell end of the year? Is it December 31 or is it early December or whatever? But I think that would be the next when we have better certainty on that time. And then third, and which is probably far greater than for these first 2, is that Finland really starts its operation. And I would say next material would be when we see that it's not only operating, but we see the revenue and the cash flow out of the operation to being reported as well. So I think there are some very solid points in the near term 6-month period, as you asked about.
And how do you structure the offtake for heat and energy? Are the off-takers local utility companies, or do they also include other types of customers?
Depending on if you refer to Finland or Germany, but yeah, indirectly it's the same. The off-taker of heat needs to be relatively close to the plant, or no matter if it's the waste energy plant or if it's the geothermal plant going forward. Of course, you can, like Iceland, and Snorri could probably talk about that. They are distributing the heat several kilometers or even tens of kilometers to different areas and so. But basically, you would say that if you say Finland, we need to have the off-takers in the industry area where we are. the off-taker of power is different because the off-take in Finland, and we're connecting to the grid. So we sell the power to a grid station through Nord Pool, who then distribute it to their customers. And it's similar, I would say, in the geothermal. There are two types of heat off-takers. One is the municipality. In some of these areas, we are then with a memorandum of understanding or LOI with the municipality, who will take the heat as the part of their district heating network to their residential area. And then it's also into the process industry that would need steam or heat, where we also have MOUs with takers. And that's, of course, why the areas chosen, there are off-takers, the geology is correct, and we thereby are confident on the development on these projects.
Brilliant. How does the company plan to mitigate geopolitical risks, as the focus is predominantly the EU and Germany? Have you considered more lucrative and longer term potentials like America?
Yeah, I would say from a mitigation reason is one of the key reasons why we're in Germany. As Ishak mentioned, it's a very attractive geology. It meets, and it's a long history and good confidence both in the temperatures, the pressures, lithium volumes, and so on. The real risk and the high risk often in geothermal is, of course, are you at the right spot when you drill? Do you get the heat? Do you get the results you're looking for? And the first is, of course, then to do a thorough research before you go. But then Germany has, as Dag mentioned, a very strong need to replace their fossil fuel or energy today, and also with the growth you see required in Germany. So they have set the target, as Dag mentioned, of that they want in 5 years to have 10 terawatt of geothermal. And they are not only talking, they are walking the talk. They have implemented very strong both risk mitigation and performance benefits out of it. The first part is that on the drilling, we will then, with the help of the government's program, get insurance that if anything would go wrong, the costs are covered under insurance, and we could then move on other areas. And it's such a large area, so we could continue into others. We're quite confident that we'll not run into that risk, but from a financing perspective, it's of course extremely important. And the same is that the government also says that they are willing to come in and underwrite the funding or secure the funding, which is also another risk mitigation if you look at it. And the third step is that, as Snorri talked about, that one of the world-leading construction companies within the geothermal have agreed on a long-term framework agreement with us to be the preferred developer on the on-surface work, where they have said, we're building it, we're carrying the cost, the engineering cost, the equipment cost. If you pay a third, i.e. 30% during construction, then they defer 70%, the bulk of the cost, where they then are totally aligned with us till 6 months post COD, commercial operational date. So when they have delivered a fully functioning, fully operational, cash generating plant, then we pay 6 months later to them that deferred costs. So I think it's extremely good risk mitigation, which also is proven, I think, with other support mentioned from the government in Germany. They cover half of our development cost pre-development, as I said, underwrite, insure, and then give us very favorable long-term agreement as off-taker, either the municipalities or when we do power, the government gives us a 20-year high tariff power prices. So I definitely think it's with Germany and that geology, it's extremely good risk mitigation.
And on the German funding, when do you expect to have that all in place for the first phase of development?
We are now, as I said, in the exploration phase, and we're looking for the extension of that exploration phase on all 3 license areas. And that exploration phase will require some close to a year, I would say, of further work. And then it's very simple in that industry, which is relatively cash intensive. A project, as we said, each such duple we're talking about fully developed some 50 million euros, whereof to the heat structure some 30 million. So of course, before we put risk on that 30, 50 million, we need to make sure that we have done the groundwork. And I would say that one extra month, one extra research, one extra report reduces the risk significantly. And even if we're covered under cost and insurance, we still would want to have the operation and get the revenues soon out of it. So the funding, I would say mid next year, we would hope that we have the pieces that much in place that we could both look at the German funding through KfW, their development bank, which is one very important part of this, and then possibly with other external funding as well. That's the combination of being listed at the main board position we are with the cash flow from Finland and the well done preparatory work should be a good basis for be able to raise that capital. So I would say capital mid next year sometime.
And looking at Finland, can you say a bit more about the EBITDA potential?
I can, but I will not. But no, we're not giving forecasts into this. What we're saying is that we will start with some smaller capacity, some 40 megawatt, which would be then give or take some 30 heat and some 10 of power. And we have given that we are having contracts for the heat around 60 euro per megawatt hour. And we are on the spot market on electricity in Finland. So then it is what the spot market is at the time we deliver it.
And can you give any guidance of when you expect or when the company hopes to be cash flow positive?
Yeah, I would definitely say that Finland should definitely be cash flow positive early next year. And I believe that that would come for the group as well. During that year, we would definitely go through into a cash positive.
So there's a question saying shareholders received a document sometime earlier this year with a valuation within that of approximately £2.40 of a share price target when Capola's fully up and running. How does this correlate to the listing price?
Yeah, I don't think that company has provided any such information. It must have been different of the analysts or independent analysts. So I think we know what we are focusing on is to build a business, and the market will hopefully recognize this and will follow the development. So I will not comment on any specific share price other than in the dialogue, both with our sponsors, with FCA and the stock exchange. We have said that we would come on a pricing that would support the development and the continuation of the company.
Brilliant. Apart from emergers, is there any other third-party analyst reports available?
I believe there is a report from the broker with Capital Plus. I know that there are others that we have been in dialogue before, and I I assume all should come with an update in the short term after the listing, where they would have more basic facts given the listing prospectus, provide facts and data that probably had been speculated before. So hopefully we would see these, and over time I would hope more analysts would come out and follow the company. The more we will be out meeting with investors, and the more attractive we will see on the market.
And then just there's one final question, which I think I can answer myself, and it's will they be able to review any documentation of the questions? And yes, the questions will be published in a written format following this presentation. So there'll be a recording of this call and a written copy of this Q&A session. That will all be available via IMC on this platform following the presentation. But I think that is all questions done. So I'll hand back over to you, Paul.
Charlotte, look, thank you very much indeed. And just to confirm that, look, thank you for covering off all the questions, Lars and team. Of course, you'll be able to review all questions submitted today. And Charlotte said we'll publish those responses where appropriate to do so on the Investor Meet Company platform. Just before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, so it's greatly important to the company. Lars, if I could just ask you for a few closing comments, please.
Yeah, thank you. And if you will see the questions, you will see that we're not hiding any questions either. We were there to answer. But to summarize, thank you for taking the time listening to us. And I just say that we are quite confident on where we are, the team we have, the assets we're having. And I definitely would see that there are, as some question were, near-term activities that will support our performance and development, as well as hopefully more information even on the mid long term that would support where we're going. So if there are any other questions, then we're always open, and send an email or whatever, and we'll try to respond as fast as possible. Thank you for taking the time.
Fantastic, Lars. Thank you and the team for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close this session? It should be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the team can better understand your views and expectations. This only takes a few moments to complete and I know is greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team, I'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation and good afternoon to you all.